On my 10th wedding anniversary, I got 2 notifications. One was a reminder about our dinner reservation at 7 p.m., and the other was a text from my wife saying, "Last night was perfect. I can't wait until Chris is finally out of the picture." And the really funny part? She sent it to me instead of Tyler. "If you got some time and maybe something to drink, settle in. 'Cause this isn't just a story about catching my wife cheating. This is about catching her cheating with my brother." And what I did next didn't just end a marriage, it detonated an entire family. So here's what you need to know going in. I had what I thought was a solid 10-year marriage. Then I got a text meant for someone else. Within 24 hours, I went from planning a romantic anniversary dinner to building a case file that would make a prosecutor jealous. And 6 weeks later, I stood in front of my entire family on Thanksgiving and showed them exactly who my wife and brother really were. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Christopher Bennett, Chris to most people. And up until October 12th of last year, I thought I had my life pretty figured out. I was 35, working as a senior financial analyst at a decent investment firm in Connecticut. The job was stable, the money was good, and I was married to Jessica, who I'd been with since I was 23. We had that comfortable kind of relationship where you finish each other's sentences and know exactly how the other person takes their coffee. Or at least, I thought we did. Looking back now, I can see all the cracks I ignored. But that's the thing about being the kind of person who avoids conflict. You get really good at explaining away the red flags. Jessica's working late again. She's a real estate agent, showings run long. She's been distant in bed, work stress. She's suddenly obsessed with her phone. Difficult clients. I had an answer for everything because I wanted to believe those answers. The story really starts about 6 months before the text. My younger brother Tyler, 28, charming in that way that gets you out of speeding tickets and into trouble, lost his sales job up in Boston. He called me one night and I could hear it in his voice. He was broke, couch surfing, and running out of options. "Just for a month, bro," he said, "just until I get back on my feet." And because I'm the older brother, because that's what Bennetts do, I said yes. I convinced Jessica to let him stay in our guest room. She wasn't thrilled about it. "Your brother is 28, Chris," she said, arms crossed in our kitchen. "When does he stop needing rescues?" "He's family," I told her. "You help family." Famous last words, right? Tyler moved in with 2 suitcases and a smile. He was supposed to be job hunting, sending out resumes, going to interviews, and maybe he did some of that. But mostly, he seemed to be hanging around the house, helping Jessica with dinner, making her laugh at jokes I apparently wasn't funny enough to deliver anymore. I noticed it. In that vague way you notice something's off but can't quite put your finger on it. I'd come home from work and they'd be in the kitchen together, and Jessica would be laughing in this way she hadn't laughed with me in months. Or I'd walk in and they'd both go quiet, like I'd interrupted something. But I told myself I was being paranoid. This was my brother. This was my wife. These were the 2 people I trusted most in the world. 1 month turned into 2, then 3, then 6. Tyler's job search seemed perpetually about to bear fruit, but never quite did. And Jessica stopped complaining about him being there. In fact, she started defending him. When I'd gently suggest, maybe it was time for him to find his own place. "He's trying, Chris. Not everyone bounces back as fast as you." Meanwhile, other things were shifting. Jessica started staying late at work 2-3 times a week. "Big clients," she'd say. "You know how it is." She'd come home at 10 or 11 p.m., shower immediately, and collapse into bed. Our sex life went from occasional to nearly non-existent. "I'm just tired," she'd say. "Work is crazy right now." And I believed her. Because what was the alternative? That my wife was lying to me. That something was happening under my own roof. No, that wasn't possible. The week before our 10th anniversary, I was excited. I had plans. I'd made a reservation at Lucia's, this Italian restaurant where I'd proposed to her a decade ago. I'd requested her favorite table by the window. I'd arranged for them to have her favorite wine already poured when we arrived. I even took the afternoon off work to pick up a gift I'd had custom made, a photo book of our 10 years together. I dropped hints all week. Jessica seemed distracted. On the morning of October 12th, our actual anniversary, I woke up early and made her favorite breakfast. Blueberry pancakes, bacon, the good coffee. She came downstairs in her robe, checking her phone. "Happy anniversary," I said, sliding a plate in front of her. Oh, right, thanks." She barely looked up. "So, tonight, 7:30, you remember?" "I have a huge showing tonight, Chris. I might run late." I felt something tighten in my chest. "It's our anniversary. We've had this planned for weeks." "Not everything revolves around your plans, Chris." The snap in her voice caught me off guard. She grabbed her coffee, left the pancakes untouched, and went upstairs to get ready. 20 minutes later, she was gone without saying goodbye. I sat there at the kitchen table, confused and hurt, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. Tyler came down around 9, already dressed to go out. "Hey man, big plans today?" I asked. "Yeah, actually. Got a thing in New Haven. Friend of mine might have a job lead." "On a Thursday?" He shrugged. "Networking, you know how it is." I spent the whole day at work, distracted, checking my phone every 10 minutes. No texts from Jessica, no returned calls. By 6 p.m. I was getting worried. By 7, I was furious. By 7:30, I was sitting alone at Lucia's, watching our reservation time come and go. The waiter was kind about it, gave me those sympathetic looks. "Would you like to order for one, sir?" I canceled the meal and went home. By midnight, Jessica still wasn't home. I'd called 15 times, straight to voicemail every time. Tyler wasn't home either, but that wasn't unusual. He'd mentioned staying with a friend in New Haven. I tried to sleep and couldn't. I paced the house. I considered calling the police, but what would I even say? My adult wife didn't come home. I talked myself down. Her phone died. She crashed at a friend's place. There was a reasonable explanation. At 2:47 a.m., I was sitting in the dark living room when I heard my phone buzz. Finally. I grabbed it, relieved, ready to be angry about the worry she'd put me through. Then I read the message. "Last night was perfect. I can't wait until Chris is finally out of the picture. See you tonight, same place." There was a photo attached, a hotel key card. Hampton Inn, exit 47. I stared at the screen. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. This was a joke, right? A wrong number. Some kind of weird. Then I saw the 3 dots. She was typing. Another message came through. "OMG, delete that." Then, "Chris, are you awake?" And that's when I understood. That's when my entire world restructured itself. The late nights, the distance, the phone calls, the way she and Tyler were always laughing together. My brother. My wife was cheating on me with my brother, and she'd just accidentally told me about it. I didn't respond to her texts. I just sat there, staring at my phone as my hands started to shake. I read it again. Chris is finally out of the picture. Finally. Like she'd been waiting for it, planning for it. I thought about the past 6 months. Tyler moving in, Jessica's schedule changing, the nights she wasn't home, the way she'd stopped looking at me like I mattered. I went upstairs and checked Tyler's room. The bed hadn't been slept in. I pulled out my laptop. I didn't know what I was looking for exactly, but I knew I needed to see it. I logged into our phone plan account. We shared the account, which meant I could pull records. I found Tyler's number and pulled the last 3 months of call logs, hundreds of texts, hundreds of calls, many of them over an hour long, all between Tyler and Jessica. Starting 4 months ago, 2 months after Tyler moved in, late night calls, 11 p.m., midnight, 2 a.m. I felt physically sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Jessica came home at 8:45 a.m. I'd been awake for over 30 hours at that point. I was sitting on the couch, phone in hand, waiting. She walked in trying to look casual, hair still wet from a shower. "Hey, sorry, I crashed at Diane's place, too tired to drive after the showing." I didn't say anything, just looked at her. "What?" she said, defensive already. "Show me your phone." "Excuse me?" I held up my phone with her text message on the screen. I said, "Show me your phone." The color drained from her face, actual visible pallor. Her mouth opened and closed. "Chris, that was meant for Tyler. I know." The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. She started crying, not sad crying, panicked crying. "It just happened. We didn't mean for it to." "How long? Chris, how long?" 4 months. 4 months. 120 days. While I worked to pay the mortgage on the house where my wife was fucking my brother. "How many times?" She wouldn't answer. "How many times did you sleep with him?" Still nothing. "Did you do it here, in our house?" Her silence told me everything. "In our bed." She looked away. I stood up. "I'm going to ask you to leave now. We can talk when I've found a lawyer." "Chris, please, get out of my house." She tried to touch my arm. I pulled away like she'd burned me. "Do not touch me. Do not call me. Get your things and get out." She left crying. I locked myself in the home office, and then I did what I do best. I analyzed data. I pulled credit card statements, our shared card, started going through every charge from the past 6 months, and there they were. $3,400 in hotel charges over 4 months, Hampton Inn on Route 7, Holiday Inn near the mall. Once, the Hilton downtown. That one was the night before my birthday. I remembered that night. Jessica said she had a late showing. She came home at midnight and went straight to the shower. I had been paying for my wife to cheat on me. Every swipe of that card was me funding my own betrayal. I pulled bank records next, found something else I'd missed. $6,200 in cash advances over the same 4 months. Small amounts. $200 here, $300 there. Careful not to trigger any alerts. She'd been building an exit fund, with my money, planning her escape while I planned our anniversary dinner. I opened my laptop and started a spreadsheet. Dates in one column, locations in another, amounts in a third. Cross-referenced Tyler's text messages with the hotel charges. The pattern was perfect. Every hotel charge corresponded to nights Jessica said she was working late, and Tyler said he was out with friends. June 15th, Hampton Inn, 127. Jessica's calendar, late showing, West Hartford. Tyler's location, according to his social media check-in at that exact time. Dinner with old college buddy, except his phone records showed he was texting Jessica for 3 hours straight that evening. June the 28th. Holiday Inn, 143. Jessica told me she had a networking event. Tyler said he was driving to Boston to pick up some stuff from storage, except the hotel was 20 minutes from our house and his phone never pinged a tower north of Hartford. I logged into the family computer and ran a data recovery program. It took 2 hours to scan the hard drive. When it finished, I had over 400 deleted files. Emails. So many emails. Jessica to Diane, May 10th. I know it's wrong, but I've never felt like this. Tyler makes me feel alive again. Chris is a good man, but he's so predictable. Tyler is spontaneous, fun. He makes me feel young. Diane's response, "Girl, be careful. This could blow up bad." Jessica, "I know, but I can't stop, and I don't think I want to." Another email from Jessica to Diane, June 3rd. Chris suspects nothing. He's too busy with work to notice. I actually feel bad sometimes. He's trying so hard with the anniversary planning, and I'm already checked out. July 18th, to Diane. Tyler and I had a close call yesterday. Chris almost walked in on us. We were in the kitchen, and Tyler was... Anyway, we heard the garage door and barely had time to separate. Chris just asked what was for dinner like nothing was wrong. And this one from October 1st, less than 2 weeks before our anniversary. Tyler and I are talking about when I'll leave. After the holidays, maybe. I just need to figure out the money situation first. Chris is going to be blindsided, and honestly, I feel terrible about it, but I deserve to be happy, right? I found another folder. Screenshots Jessica had saved. Group chat between her, Diane, and 2 other women I vaguely recognized from her work. They were all having affairs, sharing tips on how to hide it, how to explain late nights, how to manage separate finances, how to prepare for the eventual exit. One message from someone named Brittany Realtor. The key is building a cash reserve without him noticing. Take small amounts over time. Jessica's response. Already on it. I printed everything, every email, every screenshot, every credit card statement, every phone record. I bought a 3-ring binder and organized it all by date. I created a timeline in PowerPoint. I highlighted the key points in yellow. By noon, I had a case file that would make a prosecutor jealous. I sat back and looked at it. Months of lies, hundreds of texts, thousands of dollars, all laid out in black and white. And I realized something. This wasn't just about catching them. This was about making sure no one could ever gaslight me. No one could say I was overreacting or misunderstanding. The evidence was irrefutable. Tyler came home around 1 p.m. whistling. Actually whistling. He walked into the living room and saw me sitting there. "Hey bro, what's up?" I held up my phone with the text message. His face went white. "Chris, I can explain. You've been fucking my wife, in my house, using my money, for 4 months." He stammered. Tried to say something, couldn't find words. "Get out." "Chris," I said, "get out. You have until tonight to pack your shit and leave. If you're here when I get back, I'm calling the police." "Or, for what? This isn't—" I stood up, and something in my face must have scared him, because he backed up. "Maybe she wanted someone who wasn't boring. Ever think about that?" he said. That one line. That's what broke me. Not the cheating, not the lying, but my own brother, telling me I deserved it. I sat back down. I couldn't look at him anymore. He left, and for the first time in my adult life, I broke down completely. I called my best friend Marcus at 11 p.m. that night. I was in a hotel room, the same Hampton Inn brand where they'd been meeting. I don't know why I picked it. Maybe I wanted to feel the irony. Marcus came over with beer and listened without judgment as I told him everything. "So, what are you going to do?" he finally asked. "I'm going to make them wish they'd never met." Marcus looked at me carefully. "You sure about that?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." He left at 3 a.m. I didn't sleep. I lay there in that $89 a night room, and I made a promise to myself. This wasn't going to be a sad story about a man who got walked over. This was going to be a cautionary tale about what happens when you betray a Bennett. The next morning, I woke up clear-headed. For the first time in 2 days, I made a new list on my phone. What I know, what I need, what I'll do. First stop, attorney. I'd researched Connecticut divorce lawyers at 4 a.m. Karen Hayes had a reputation for being thorough and aggressive. I called her office as soon as they opened. "I need a consultation, today if possible." Her secretary must have heard something in my voice. I was there by 10 a.m. I walked in with my evidence binder, printed timeline, call logs, credit card statements, email screenshots, the text message, everything. Karen flipped through it slowly. When she looked up, there was something like respect in her eyes. "Mr. Bennett, this is the most organized case file I've ever seen from someone who discovered infidelity 48 hours ago. I work in finance. I find discrepancies for a living." She smiled. "Connecticut isn't a pure no-fault state. Infidelity can impact asset division. With this evidence, you're in a very strong position. I want to file today. Today. Right now, before she knows what's happening." We filed that afternoon. Jessica would be served the papers at work. I wanted the public embarrassment. I wanted her colleagues to watch the process server walk in and hand her the envelope. Over the next week, I executed my financial strategy with cold precision. Opened a new bank account in only my name. Redirected my paycheck. Legally froze our joint credit cards after consulting with Karen. Changed every password I had. Banking, email, streaming services, utilities, everything. I installed data recovery software on our home computer. Legally my property. Found more emails. A group chat between Jessica and 3 of her friends, including Diane. They were coaching each other on affairs, trading tips on how to hide it from husbands, how to build exit funds, how to prepare for divorce, screenshots of everything. I kept going to work, kept acting normal. When people asked how I was doing, I said, fine. I went to the gym, I ran, I cleaned my new apartment. And every evening I added to my file, because I had a plan, and the plan had a date. Thanksgiving. My parents host Thanksgiving every year. It's the biggest Bennett family gathering. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Usually about 12 people. Everyone would be there, including Tyler, including Jessica. Marcus thought I was crazy. You're going to blow up Thanksgiving. They already blew it up. I'm just making sure everyone sees the crater. I spent 6 weeks preparing. I created a presentation. I work in finance. PowerPoint is my native language. Title, slide, the truth about Tyler and Jessica. Every text message, every hotel receipt, every call log. The Instagram story I found on Jessica's close friends list from 2 weeks before the anniversary. A photo of her hand and Tyler's hand, caption, when you know, I practiced my delivery with Marcus. Calm, factual, devastating. This is fucking brutal, man, Marcus said. It should be. The hard part was the acting. For 6 weeks I pretended. I went to 2 couples therapy sessions with Jessica and nodded in all the right places. I told her I was working on forgiveness. I was cordial to Tyler when I ran into him. I played the role of a man who was trying to salvage his marriage. Jessica started to believe it. I'm so glad you're willing to work on this, she said one night. We're family, I told her. We'll figure it out. And I watched her believe the lie, the same way I'd believed hers. My mother called to confirm we'd all be at Thanksgiving. You, Jessica, and Tyler. We'll be there, Mom. All of us. What I didn't tell her, it would be the last Bennett family Thanksgiving we'd ever have. November 23rd arrived. I woke up that morning with a strange calm. I'd been carrying this weight for 6 weeks, and today it would finally be over. I drove to my parents' house alone, took my time, stopped for coffee. I wanted to be clear-headed. Jessica and Tyler drove separately, but arrived together around the same time. I watched them pull up, park one car behind the other. They walked in together, standing just a little too far apart, trying to look casual, failing. The house smelled like turkey and stuffing and my childhood. Football was on TV. My grandmother Rose was there, sitting in her usual spot on the couch, and when I saw her, I felt something twist in my chest. She was 78, and I loved her more than almost anyone. For a second, I almost backed out. Then Tyler laughed at something Jessica said, that easy, charming laugh, the same one he'd used his whole life to get out of trouble. To get people to forgive him, to make everyone think he was just a fun-loving kid who couldn't help getting into minor mischief. This wasn't minor mischief, and I wasn't going to let him laugh his way out of it. We all sat down for dinner around 3 p.m. 12 of us squeezed around the extended table in my parents' dining room. Mom had really gone all out this year. 3 types of stuffing, homemade rolls, the good china. She'd even made Tyler's favorite, cranberry sauce from scratch. I sat at one end of the table. Tyler and Jessica were across from me. Not quite next to each other, but close, maintaining the illusion. Dad stood up to say, "Grace." Everyone joined hands. I looked around the table. My family. Most of them had no idea what was about to happen. "Actually, Dad," I said, standing up. "Before we start, can I say something?" He smiled at me. Of course, son. You want to say the blessing? No, but I want to thank everyone for being here. I looked around the table slowly, made eye contact with each person. Family means everything to me, or at least I thought it did. The room got quiet. Confused looks. My Aunt Carol put down her wine glass. Tyler shifted in his seat. Chris, what? I've been working on something, I said, pulling out my laptop from the bag I'd kept under my chair. A presentation. I think everyone should see it. My mother frowned. Christopher, this really isn't the time. It's exactly the time, Mom. I connected my laptop to their TV using the Apple TV setup I'd confirmed with Dad earlier that week. He'd thought I wanted to show family photos after dinner. The TV screen lit up. Title slide in bold letters. The truth about Tyler and Jessica. Tyler went white, actually pale. Jessica made a small sound in her throat. Chris, don't do this, Tyler said. Don't do what? Tell the truth? I clicked to the next slide. The text message, the one from October 12th, large enough for everyone to read clearly. Last night was perfect. I can't wait until Chris is finally out of the picture. See you tonight, same place. My mother gasped so loud it was almost a scream. My father dropped his fork. The clatter on the plate was deafening in the suddenly silent room. What is this? Dad's voice was low and dangerous. That's a text message my wife sent me on our 10th wedding anniversary, I said calmly. It was meant for Tyler. She accidentally sent it to me instead. Jessica stood up so fast her chair fell backward. How dare you? How dare I? I turned to look at her. I haven't even started yet. Sit down. Something in my voice made her sit. She was shaking. Next slide. The timeline. 4 months laid out in a grid. Dates, locations, hotel names, dollar amounts. They've been having an affair since June. I continued, voice still calm, like I was presenting quarterly earnings. While Tyler was living under my roof, which I paid for, while I was supporting him. My brother, my Uncle Jim, was staring at the screen, mouth open. My grandmother had her hand over her heart. Next slide. Credit card statements, highlighted in yellow. These are hotel charges, $3,400 worth, all on my credit card. Hampton Inn, Holiday Inn, once the Hilton downtown. I've been paying for my wife to cheat on me with my brother. Oh my God, my Aunt Carol whispered. Tyler, my father said. His voice was shaking. Tell me this isn't real. Tyler tried to stand up. I clicked to the next slide. Phone records. A graph showing hundreds of calls and texts between two numbers. Labeled clearly. Jessica's phone and Tyler's phone. These are their call logs from the past 4 months. Hundreds of texts, hundreds of calls, late-night conversations, some over an hour long, while I was asleep in my bed, while Jessica told me she was tired from work. My mother was crying now, quiet tears running down her face. Next slide. The Instagram story, their hands intertwined. The caption clear. When you know, you know. This is from Jessica's private Instagram, I said, from 2 weeks before our anniversary. The caption says, when you know, you know. Only 8 people could see this story, including several of my cousins who are on her close friends list and said nothing. One of my younger cousins, Emma, went bright red. Chris, I didn't know that was Tyler. It's fine, Emma. You were protecting a friend. I understand. Next slide. Email screenshots. The group chat between Jessica and her friends. This is a group chat where Jessica and 3 other women discuss their affairs, trade tips on how to hide it from their husbands, how to build cash reserves without their partners noticing. This message here. I pointed to one highlighted in red. Is Jessica talking about how I suspect nothing because I'm too busy with work? Jesus Christ, my Uncle Jim muttered. Tyler finally found his voice. We fell in love, he shouted, standing up. We didn't plan it. It just happened. We couldn't help it." The room exploded. "You fell in love with your brother's wife." My Uncle Jim was on his feet now, too, while eating his food, sleeping under his roof. "Mom." Tyler turned to our mother, tears in his eyes, the same look he'd used his whole life when he needed her to save him. She just stared at him. "I can't believe—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Jessica tried a different approach. She was crying now, mascara running. "Chris was never home. He ignored me for years. I was so lonely." My Aunt Carol cut her off. "So you fucked his brother?" The word hung in the air. My grandmother flinched but didn't look away from Jessica. Jessica ran toward the bathroom. Diane, her friend there as my mother's colleague from work, tried to follow her. "Diane knew," I said, and everyone's heads turned toward her. "For 3 months. There's an email where Jessica thanks her for covering when she was at a hotel with Tyler but told me she was at Diane's house." Diane's face crumpled. She grabbed her purse and coat. "Don't you dare leave," my father said. "It wasn't a request. You helped them do this. You stood there at my table last month and talked about the importance of family, and you knew." Diane left anyway, practically ran out the door. I pulled up the next slide, bank statements showing Jessica's cash withdrawals, organized by date, amount, and ATM location. "And this," I said. $6,200 in cash advances from our joint account over 4 months. Jessica was building an escape fund, planning to leave me after the holidays, with my money, for my brother. I looked at Tyler. He was crying now too, but I felt nothing. "By the way," I said, "you're named in my divorce filing. Alienation of affection. Connecticut still recognizes that tort. My lawyer estimates the lawsuit could cost you anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. Enjoy the legal bills." Tyler collapsed back into his chair. My father stood up slowly. I'd never seen him look like this. His face was red, his hands were clenched into fists. He walked around the table, toward Tyler. "Dad," Tyler started, "get out of my house. Dad, please, I said get out." My father's voice cracked on the last word. "You are not my son right now. Get out before I do something I regret." Tyler looked at our mother one last time. She wouldn't look at him. He grabbed his jacket and left. The silence after the door slammed was absolute. Then my grandmother Rose spoke. She was still sitting in her spot, back straight, looking older than I'd ever seen her. "Christopher." Her voice was quiet but firm. Everyone turned to look at her. "You did the right thing telling us." She looked at where Tyler had been sitting. "Tyler is not invited to Christmas or Easter or any family gathering after this. Not until he makes this right, if he ever can." Coming from Grandma Rose, the family matriarch. This was a death sentence. Tyler was cut off. Officially. I closed my laptop, unplugged it from the TV. The screen went back to the football game, still playing. Nobody was watching it. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I'm sorry for ruining Thanksgiving, but I couldn't." My voice broke for the first time. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. My father pulled me into a hug. Then he whispered in my ear, "You didn't ruin anything. They did. I'm proud of you, son." I left a few minutes later. As I got to my car, I could hear shouting from inside the house. My father's voice, raised like I'd never heard it. My mother crying, Aunt Carol saying something sharp and angry. My phone started buzzing before I even got out of the driveway. "Mom, I'm so sorry, honey." Uncle Jim, "That took real guts." Cousin Emma, "I should have told you." Aunt Carol, "Let me know if you need anything." And then Jessica's voicemail, screaming, literally screaming. "How could you do this? You humiliated me in front of everyone. You're a monster, a monster. This is why I left you, because you're cold and heartless and—" I deleted it without listening to the end. Tyler's text. You destroyed the family. I hope you're happy. Mom's crying because of you. This is all your fault. I blocked his number. The family was already destroyed. I just made sure everyone knew who swung the wrecking ball. I stayed with Marcus for a few days after Thanksgiving. My phone wouldn't stop. Family members calling, most of them taking my side. My Uncle Jim texted, "That took guts, proud of you." But I felt empty. Marcus noticed, "You okay?" "I don't know what I am." Word spread fast in our town. Jessica's real estate firm heard about it within 48 hours. Her broker called her in. She was asked to take some time off because it was problematic for their image. She lost 3 major clients in 1 week. Her social media exploded. People she thought were friends unfollowing her. Diane publicly posted that she couldn't condone infidelity to save her own reputation. Tyler tried to crash with a friend. The friend's wife said absolutely not. He ended up on someone's couch. His ex-girlfriend from Boston found out through mutual friends and posted about it publicly. Dodged a bullet with this one. My parents stopped speaking to Tyler completely. My mom told me through tears, "I don't know how to process that I raised someone capable of this." My dad changed his will. Tyler was out, completely. The extended family group chat that used to include, everyone got split. There was now a Tyler-less version. And then, 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, my grandmother Rose had a panic attack. Stress-induced. She was hospitalized for 2 days. That's when I started to question everything. I went to see her in the hospital. She was hooked up to monitors, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. When she saw me, she held out her hand. I took it and sat down next to her bed. "I'm proud of you," she said quietly. "You stood up for yourself." I felt a weight lift slightly. "But I wish—" She trailed off, looking at the ceiling. "I just wish there'd been another way. That boy is still my grandson." That hit me harder than I expected, because she was right. Tyler was still her grandson, and my revenge had hurt her too. It had hurt my mother. It had hurt people who had nothing to do with the betrayal. I sat there holding my grandmother's hand, and for the first time since October 12th, I felt something other than cold rage. I felt guilt. Marcus found me drunk in my apartment 2 nights later. "You're second-guessing yourself. My grandma had a panic attack because of me. No, because of Tyler, because of Jessica. You just exposed it. Then why do I feel like shit?" Marcus sat down next to me. "Because you're not actually an asshole, unlike them. But that doesn't mean what you did was wrong. They made choices. You just made sure they faced consequences." The divorce finalized in February. Jessica's attorney tried to paint me as vindictive, but the evidence was overwhelming. Jessica agreed to a 60-40 asset split in my favor. She lost the house. I kept it for about 3 weeks, then sold it. Too many ghosts. Some of our mutual friends distanced themselves. "It's too messy," one said. I realized these weren't real friends anyway. But I did lose 3 or 4 couple friendships I'd valued. At work, people knew. Small-town dynamics. Some colleagues treated me differently. I hated being defined by betrayal. Hated being that guy whose brother slept with his wife. And Jessica and Tyler. Their relationship imploded within 3 weeks of Thanksgiving. Turns out when you remove the taboo and secrecy, there's nothing left. Jessica blamed Tyler for ruining her life. Tyler blamed Jessica for sending the wrong text. They broke up. Jessica moved to Rhode Island to live with her parents. Tyler disappeared. No one knew where. No one cared. Tyler tried to reach out once in December. "Can we talk?" I blocked his number. By mid-December, the dust still hadn't settled. My parents were speaking to me, but the conversations were careful and sad. And I was living in a new apartment, sleeping on an air mattress, wondering if revenge was supposed to feel this hollow. I got what I wanted. They lost everything, so why did I still feel like I was drowning? In January, I started seeing a real therapist, not couples therapy, just for me. Dr. Rachel Chen's office was in a renovated house in West Hartford. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs, the kind of space that felt safe. In our first session, she asked a simple question. "What do you want from this?" I'd been expecting something more clinical, psychological assessments, forms to fill out. But she just sat there, waiting for my answer. "I want to stop being angry," I finally said. "I want to feel like myself again." "Ah, who is yourself?" That stumped me, because I realized I didn't know anymore. For 10 years, I'd been Jessica's husband. For my whole life, I'd been Tyler's older brother. Who was Chris Bennett when you stripped away those roles? "I don't know," I admitted. "Then that's what we'll figure out." Over the next few months, she helped me understand something important. Revenge gave me control, but it didn't give me closure. The anger was still there, just redirected. The hurt was still there, just buried under satisfaction, and I needed to process not just what they did to me, but my own role in it. "You're very good at taking responsibility for other people's choices," Dr. Chen said one session in February. "Your brother needed a place to stay, so you provided it without question. Your wife said she needed space, so you gave it without asking why. When did you learn that your needs didn't matter?" I thought about that for a long time. My dad used to say, "Bennetts take care of family, no matter what." I guess I learned it from him. And look where that got you. It wasn't cruel, the way she said it. Just factual, and she was right. Marcus, meanwhile, was working his own kind of therapy on me. He started dragging me to game nights with his college friends, people I'd lost touch with during my marriage. Jessica had never liked them. Too loud, she said. Too immature. The first game night was awkward. I didn't know anyone well anymore, and I felt like I was wearing a sign that said, "My wife fucked my brother," but nobody brought it up. They just dealt me into their poker game and handed me a beer. And somewhere around hand 3, when Marcus's friend Andrew told a terrible joke and everyone groaned, I laughed, really laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from your stomach, not your throat. It was the first time I'd laughed like that in months. Andrew noticed. He caught my eye and gave me a small nod, like he knew. Later, I found out he'd gone through a divorce 2 years earlier. "It gets better," he told me over beers after everyone else had left. "Slowly. Some days you'll wake up and think you're fine, and then something small will hit you. A song, a smell, a random Tuesday, and you'll feel like you're drowning all over again." "That's supposed to make me feel better," he smiled. "The point is, you wake up, you keep waking up, and eventually, the good days start outnumbering the bad ones." I started running again in early February, something I'd abandoned during my marriage because Jessica thought it was obsessive. She wanted me home in the evenings, she said, spending time with her. The first run was brutal. I made it 2 miles before I had to stop, hands on my knees, gasping. I was out of shape. 10 years of comfortable married life had softened me. But the next morning I went again, and the morning after that. By the end of February, I was up to 5 miles. By March 7, there was something meditative about it, and just me, my breathing, and the rhythm of my feet on the pavement. No wife to check in with, no brother to worry about, no family drama to navigate. Just the road ahead and the music in my earbuds. I started cooking too. Real cooking, not just heating up frozen meals. Jessica had always handled dinner. It was her thing, she said. I'd offered to help plenty of times, but she always shooed me out of the kitchen. Now I had to figure it out myself. I started simple, spaghetti, grilled chicken. Then I got more ambitious. Watched YouTube videos on knife skills. Tried my hand at stir-fry. Made a pot roast that was actually pretty good. One night in late February, I made myself a real dinner. Pan-seared salmon, roasted vegetables, wild rice. Set the table properly. Poured myself a glass of wine. sat down and ate slowly, actually tasting the food, and I realized, this is mine. This meal, this table, this apartment, this life, all mine. No compromises, no checking if someone else likes salmon, no accommodating someone else's schedule. For the first time in a decade, I was living for me. I furnished my apartment piece by piece. Everything was my choice. Jessica had always been the one with good taste. She'd pick out furniture and tell me what we were buying. I'd nod and pull out my credit card. Now I went to IKEA by myself on a Sunday morning, wandered around like a kid in a toy store, found a leather couch that I liked. Dark brown, comfortable, masculine. Jessica would have hated it. Called it bachelor pad furniture. I bought it anyway. And the matching chair. And some lamps that were probably too modern for my taste, but fuck it. I liked them. I hung art on the walls, prints of national parks I wanted to visit, a vintage poster of the Beatles. Jessica had always hated my taste in art, called it dorm room decor. One evening in early March, I was sitting on my new couch in my apartment, looking at my art on the walls. I had a beer in my hand and a book I'd been wanting to read for years. Marcus was coming over later to watch the game, and I thought, I'm happy. Not deliriously, not completely, but genuinely, actually happy. It felt like a revelation. I met Sarah by accident. I wasn't looking for anyone, wasn't even thinking about dating. I'd sworn off women for the foreseeable future, honestly. But then one Saturday morning in late February, I was at my usual coffee shop, and she was there trying to wrangle 2 enormous poster tubes and a laptop while ordering a latte. The tubes fell. I caught one before it hit the ground. "Oh my God, thank you," she said, laughing. "I'm like a cartoon character today, dropping everything." She had a great laugh, warm and genuine. "What's in the tubes?" I asked, handing it back to her. "Work stuff. I'm a graphic designer. Had to print some mock-ups for a client presentation." We ended up sitting together, just talking. She was funny and easy to talk to and had no idea who I was or what I'd been through. To her, I was just Chris, some guy at a coffee shop who helped her with her poster tubes. We exchanged numbers, started texting. Nothing heavy. Just funny observations about our days, memes, recommendations for shows to watch. Our first date was in early February. She picked a Vietnamese place I'd never been to. We sat in a corner booth and talked for 3 hours about everything, our jobs, our families, our favorite movies. At the end of the night, walking her to her car, she said, "So, I have to ask, recent breakup, you seem like you're recovering from something." I almost lied, almost gave some vague answer about it being complicated. But something about her made me want to be honest. So I told her, all of it. The text message, the affair, the brother, the Thanksgiving reveal, everything. I watched her face, waiting for the moment she'd make an excuse and leave. Waiting for the "you're too messy" conversation. She didn't run. "Wow," she said after a long pause. That's a lot." "Yeah, but it sounds like you handled it." "Did I, though?" She smiled. "You stood up for yourself. That takes real strength. A lot of people would have just let it go, pretended everything was fine. You didn't do that. I blew up my entire family at Thanksgiving. They blew up your family when they started screwing each other. You just made sure everyone knew who lit the match." I saw her again the next weekend, and the weekend after that. By March, we were seeing each other regularly. Nothing too serious yet. We were both cautious about rushing into anything. But it was something light and good and uncomplicated. She made me laugh. That was the main thing. She'd send me terrible puns in the middle of the workday. She'd do impressions of her difficult clients. She'd drag me to art museums and make up ridiculous backstories for the paintings. "That guy," she said, pointing at a stern portrait from the 1800s, "definitely had a secret life as a cabaret dancer." I laughed so hard I got shushed by a museum guard. In mid-February, I went to visit my parents for the first time since Thanksgiving. I'd been avoiding it, if I'm honest. Didn't know what to say, didn't know if things would be weird. My mom opened the door and immediately pulled me into a hug. She held on for a long time. "I'm so sorry, honey," she said into my shoulder. "You deserved so much better than what they did." My dad clapped me on the shoulder. "You handled it like a man, like a Bennett. I'm proud of you, son." We had dinner, just the three of us, and we talked about the future, not the past. My dad's retirement plans, my mom's garden, my job, Sarah, a little bit. "She sounds nice," my mom said carefully. Are you ready for that?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I'm trying." At one point, my mom asked the question I'd been dreading. "Have you forgiven them?" I thought about it, really thought about it, about Jessica and Tyler and what they'd done. "No," I finally said, "but I've forgiven myself for trusting them, for missing the signs, for being the kind of person who made it easy for them to take advantage. That's a start." My dad nodded slowly. "That's more than fair." Later that night, after they'd gone to bed, I was cleaning up the kitchen and I found myself looking at the photos on their fridge, family pictures from over the years, and I realized Tyler wasn't in any of them anymore. My mom had taken them all down, quietly, without fanfare, just removed him from the visual history of the family. It should have made me feel satisfied, vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. In late March, I boxed up the last items from my marriage. Photos, wedding gifts, a coffee maker Jessica had loved, things I'd been keeping in storage, not quite ready to let go. I thought about burning them, making some dramatic gesture, but that felt too theatrical. Too much energy spent on something that didn't matter anymore. So I just donated them. Dropped everything at Goodwill. Let someone else find use in the remnants of my old life. But I kept one thing, one photo from our wedding day. Both of us smiling, young and hopeful. My arm around her waist, her head on my shoulder. I didn't keep it out of nostalgia. I kept it as a reminder that what we had was real once, and then it wasn't. And both things could be true. People can change, relationships can die, love can turn into betrayal, and you can survive it anyway. By April, something had shifted. I wasn't thinking about them every day anymore. Sometimes I'd go 48, even 72 hours without remembering the text message. I got a promotion at work. Started planning a hiking trip to Colorado with Marcus. I was training for a half marathon, and Sarah and I were getting more serious. She'd met my parents. They loved her. I was cautiously optimistic about the future. One morning in early May, I was running through the park near my apartment. 6 miles in, feeling good. Sun was coming up, and I realized I hadn't checked Tyler's social media in 3 weeks. Didn't know where Jessica was, didn't care. That felt like progress. In mid-May, I got a Facebook message from Tyler. "Can we talk? I'm in AA now, working on my amends." I read it, felt nothing, no anger, no curiosity, nothing. I didn't respond, didn't block him either, just closed the app. In therapy that week, I told Dr. Chen about it. "I don't owe him forgiveness," I said. "No," she agreed. "You don't." I heard through my mom that Jessica had moved to Florida, working as a receptionist. Couldn't transfer her real estate license easily. Dating someone new already. I felt a flicker of pity. Then nothing. She wasn't my problem anymore. Tyler was in Arizona, according to my mom, staying with a distant cousin, working construction. She talked to him occasionally on the phone. My dad refused. I'd told my parents early on, "You can have a relationship with him if you want, but I won't, and I need you to respect that." They did. The Bennett family still gathered for holidays, but there was a Tyler-shaped hole no one mentioned. My Aunt Carol told me at Easter. "We all have a Tyler story now, someone who took advantage of family. Yours is just the worst one." The family was smaller now, but more honest. My grandmother Rose recovered fully. She sent me a birthday card in June with a note. "Proud of you for rebuilding." I was rebuilding, one day at a time. By summer, I'd been with Sarah for 8 months. We'd taken a trip to Maine. She'd fully moved her stuff into her own apartment, and I was spending half my time there. We talked about future plans. I was cautiously optimistic, maybe even happy. I bought a small house in August. My own place. No shared history, no ghosts, just mine. One evening in early September, almost a year after the text message, I was sitting on my new porch, coffee in hand. Sarah was inside making dinner. I could hear her singing along to something on the radio. I thought about that text message that changed everything. Can't wait until Chris is finally out of the picture. I thought about the man I used to be. Conflict avoidant, too trusting, defined by others. I thought about the man I'd become, boundaried, selective with trust, defined by myself. People sometimes ask if I regret how I handled it. If I think I went too far with the Thanksgiving reveal. I don't. I regret trusting them. I regret not seeing it sooner. I regret being so afraid of conflict that I ignored every red flag. But blowing up Thanksgiving, making them face what they did in front of everyone who mattered, making sure there were consequences. No regrets there. Because here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just hurt in the moment. It rewrites your history. Every happy memory becomes a question mark. Every loving moment becomes a potential lie. They didn't just cheat. They made me doubt my own judgment, my own worth, my own reality, and I couldn't let that stand. Jessica wanted me out of the picture. Funny thing is, she was right. I am out of the picture, just not the way she meant. I'm not in her picture anymore. I'm not in Tyler's picture. I'm barely in my parents' picture the way I used to be. But I'm in my own picture now, and it's a picture I actually like. One where I have boundaries, where I choose who gets access to my life, where I don't apologize for expecting loyalty from the people I love. One where I cook the meals I want to eat, hang the art I want to see, date a woman who makes me laugh and doesn't make me feel like I'm not enough. A picture where I'm not the boring brother, not the naive husband, not the guy who got played. Just Chris, building something new, something real, something mine. And you know what? For the first time in years, I actually like what I see.